Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Nosheen Mukhtar, and you are watching us on the Trailblazers talk show. This talk show has been designed to bring to you the most inspiring leaders from all across the world. And today we have someone from the education sector. Let's meet with Dr. Byron Ernest, who's going to share with us more about his journey. And he's also going to educate us about how we can make a difference through modern education and what is needed in present times to make education worth the effort and the time. Welcome to the show, Dr. Byron. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor for us to have you today on the show. Um, Dr. Byron, my dear friends, is from Indiana in the US, and he has been an educationist for 39 plus years. He's been making a big difference in the industry. He's been dealing with all ins and outs of different developments in the education sector. He's the CEO and founder of Leadery Global, and we need to find today a lot about education from him. Let's know more about himself from Dr. Byron. Please tell us more about your journey, Dr. Byron. How did you start? Why did you become a CEO and entrepreneur? Why you decided to work on your own in the same sector?
I spent most of my career as a teacher, and I've always said that's still probably going to be the thing that I love the most is teaching, right? And I think as a founder and CEO now, I think that's what I still do is teach because I spend a lot of time working with teacher leaders from around the world, and so that is exciting work, and I think though it's important to start with the journey from the beginning in that I taught in the classroom for 26 years. And so I will always be a teacher. And I think that's important in my work to always remember what that is like to be a teacher and that exciting work. And then as a school leader, as what we call here in the States, principal and superintendent leading schools. That was an important piece to the puzzle as well for me to have that experience of leading others and leading teachers, serving those teachers as a servant leader. And so then it became evident that that experience was important to then share with other leaders, other teachers, and that was really the whole thought process behind starting Leadery Global was how can I give back? I was at a point where, as you said, next year will be 40 years for me in education, and it was time for it not to be about Byron anymore. It was time for it to be about others, and how do I share that, and how do I lift others up in that process. So that was the whole piece of that. And I wanted to be that person delivering, whether it be professional development, whether it be help. I wanted to be that person who I maybe had never seen, right? Who had never done it in an engaging way and in a way that really shared some experiences from a person that's walked the walk, so to speak. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Very interesting. 26 years in the classroom. I spent, I think, 6 years in the classroom. So I was a teacher in my early 20s. Uh, this was my very first profession when I started in the world where you have to be a professional. I truly enjoyed my time in the classroom because I was able to, let me say, bring more experiences and some knowledge to young minds. And when they had those aha moments of discovery, that's when I felt more excited. So, what were your moments in these 26 years where you felt very excited about what you do? What satisfied you the most about your profession?
Well, and I think first, Nosheen, knowing you not quite a year yet, I would say you're still given those aha moments because as we were talking before we started this, I follow you on social media. I learn from you every day with the things that you give. So I say that first, you're still teaching. And I think that's
Thank
important.
you.
Those so those aha moments for me came from and so I have to say one of the things that I've always said in education, it's about being authentic. And I think we can transfer this to any leadership piece, right? It's about being authentic, being able to share with what are those things that we know, what are the things that we don't know. And so when you say aha moments, I always talk about some of the greatest moments that I had in education were when we were doing and so I was teaching agriculture science, so science in the context of a very relevant subject of agriculture, and we would do labs, and sometimes those labs wouldn't go the way that they were supposed to, right, or the way that I maybe wanted them to go, and students would ask um what happened there, and I would have to say I have no idea, but we're going to figure it out together. And so some of those greatest moments were when from an authentic place I said, hey, I don't know, we're going to learn together, and we always did learn a lot together, right? And so I think that's one of those pieces that for me were those great moments, and that happened on a weekly basis. So those were the aha moments for me, is how do we give students a real life things that they have to deal with, and then authentically look at them and work through those together. And I think we can transfer that to what you and I both do today, right? We have to be authentic. What do we know, what do we don't know, and then how do we work it out together? It's part of being curious, right?
Yes, very true, very true. It is normally very exciting to see when, with us as a team, people who are on a learning journey are able to discover something new and feel and get that feeling of achievement when they reach that point when they've discovered an answer. That is where we all feel, oh, yes, this is amazing. That's what we set off to do. Some of our answers are unique because they are all relevant to our own personalized experiences. Some are general because they are everybody else's experience. So, coming back to our conversation, what do you believe makes a great learner? And on the other side, what does make a great teacher?
So I think I go back to what I just ended with in my comment. I think to make a great learner, we need to really work toward how do we help students learn to learn. It can't be about always right or wrong answers. How do we encourage the curiosity piece? So I think to be a great learner, we need to be curious, and we need to also have some creativity in that for ourselves as well. And I would say I always say I'm like a excited learner. I don't necessarily like the term lifelong learner because regardless of whether we want to or not, we are learning, right? So we're all lifelong learners whether we want to or not. It's whether we get excited about that. I still have things, as you know, I'm doing some work right now with University of Oxford and the C.S. Lewis Foundation as a visiting scholar, and so I'm still learning and still want to continue to learn. And so I think from a learner standpoint, and I think this is what we have to develop with our students, in no matter what level they are, right? P through forever, we need to instill that how do we keep and stay excited about education. And so I think when we transfer that to being a good teacher, I think that's what's important. How do we give those relevant experiences that excite our children? And I think that's one of the big keys. We're now in 2024, and our students want to learn things that are relevant to their life, right? I hear this from students all the time. How does what I'm learning relate to education and what I'm learning, and to our lives? And if we can't make that connection for them, then we've lost them, and they deserve for us to make that connection. So what makes a good teacher? I think number one is the piece of how do we make it relevant? How do we connect what they're learning to real life for them?
Very true. Do you think that modern technology is helping us in making that possible, or is it creating more challenges for us and as well as the students? Because there is this ongoing debate about whether to use or not to use social media as a medium of learning in the classroom, whether to rely on AI or not to rely on AI as a learning tool. So there's a lot of debate in these two spaces, because what I feel is, yes, the from a social standpoint, students' learning experiences are to an extent very social incidents. And if we use the available mediums for that, it matters. It prepares them perhaps for a different experience, or maybe a variety of experiences that are yet to come in future, plus the ones that are relevant to their present. Similarly, if we look at AI, um, although there is a lot of controversy around it, it continues to be very tempting for students in specific. So, what are your views in that area?
So, while this is a topic we could talk all day on, right? But I, I think first of all, one, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages if we help our students be able to navigate both of the things that you've talked about, social media and AI. We did not do, I think we missed an opportunity when the social media boom started and we began to have all of the social media that was available. I don't think that we as a world did a good job of helping our students know how to navigate that and work through that, right? Do I know exactly what that should have looked like? No, but I just know that I don't think we did, right? Because we either took that attitude of, well, we shouldn't even be on social media, or it's okay, or how do we, and I don't think that's the right way to navigate. I think we're doing maybe a little better job in AI, but I think we need to do a much better job of not just saying, no, we're not going to use it, because you and I know how that's going to work out, right? If we tell students that we're not going to use it, well, they're going to want to use it more, right? And we're not going to keep them from using it. So how do we help them? How do we help? How do we help education use AI? How do we use that as a stepping stone and really a way to raise the bar, right? So it's interesting. I brought up earlier doing some work with Oxford, and so I had a class with them on AI, and it was stated that we were expected to use AI when writing our papers and things, and that was a whole new thing for me, right? That you're expected to use it, and then it was, that's how we're going to raise the bar. We want you to start by using what's available out there, what's available with technology, and then we want what your work product to be even better because you've had the chance to use it. And I think that's the opportunity that we have with students. We can go far beyond where they are with their knowledge, and this can help teachers expand what our knowledge as teachers is to help our students, right? By using AI. But we need to help them navigate, how do we do that, right? How do we make sure that we're able to, I know in our last NAEP scores here in the US, one of the things that was startling that relates to this is that are only about 14% of our students are able to know what's fact or fiction, what's true and what's not true. And so some of those hallucinations that we get with AI are things that we need to help our students work through. How do we tell the difference between fake and real. And adults have trouble with that too. So I think it's an opportunity for us, and I don't want us to miss that opportunity. And I think that we need to our people in leadership positions in our countries need to really work with our educators on what's that look like, not just set rules that maybe aren't right for education, or aren't right for teachers, aren't right for that classroom environment, but how do we get the product right to where it is factual information? There aren't fake things that we're putting toward our students and those kinds of things. So I think it's a combination of what you all started with, right? We can't just say we're not going to use it, but we've got to figure out how do we use it best for our students to help them learn, because they're going to be exposed to it, and they're going to be exposed to it when they get out in industry and out into their real worlds once again. And we have an obligation to help them understand how to use that and how to use it properly.
I believe that if we equip them with the right kind of training and awareness, because these two tools can really help them, they will be able to make best use of these tools. Because whether we like it or not, the future depends on all of these, on all of the technological developments that are coming up. So I agree with you on this on 100%, that we need to make them better aware and more skilled, so that they are able to use them now as well as in future. So cutting things off will not do anybody any good.
And Nasheen, one other thing on that I think is important. I think we as adults need to do a better job of modeling for them. And so I used you as an example earlier where I said I follow you on LinkedIn, social media, and you do a great job of what I call being light, bright, and polite. When you put something on social media, I know I'm going to get something out of that, right? It's not a bad thing towards someone else or whatever, the things that we all see on social media. And so I think the other piece to that I didn't bring in, and sorry I went on with this, but I think the other thing is that we as adults and leaders need to become better role models. We need to show what that looks like, for particularly in the social media realms. What does that look like for our young people? When we put something out there, let's make it be something that makes a person's world better, right? That's what we ought to be doing with that. At least in my opinion, that's what we ought to be doing. So I appreciate your role model in that. We need more of those.
Thank you. I'll give an example here from my personal life. So my child is someone who likes to explore new avenues. And since video games are very easily available to all children, and when their mummies are very, very occupied, as my child's mummy is, they have this option of using their devices and entertaining themselves. So he has become a YouTuber, and he creates his own content, though he's very small. He has a good, fair following and a lot of engagement on his content as well, which is all about the video games and different ways and different hacks of winning the game. So during his journey as a YouTuber, he got into not just creating his own content, but also in studying other people's content, because that's where the learning happens. And looking at this example, I can see that majority of the children around his age, and maybe a little bit younger and a little bit older than him, are doing something similar. So they are exposed to a variety of content online. Now it depends on the user, how he manipulates the tools. My child got fascinated by Elon Musk. And when very recently, let me say it, a few months back, Twitter was transformed into X. So he was very curious why Elon Musk chose to rename Twitter as X. So he went into the research and he collected all the information. And then he bought books that were about Elon Musk, including his biography. So that was all to satisfy his natural curiosity about something of interest for him. So, if we as adults, like you have said, are modeling the right way and are uh, making our children work towards satisfying their natural curiosity in positive ways, we will get good results. They will learn good things and they will automatically acquire the skills that are necessary, not just to satisfy their curiosity, but also to use as they grow into grown up people with time for the future. That is why I cited this example in detail.
That is a great example. And having met your son, I'm going to now have to. I've got to now go on YouTube and find this from him. So I'll become a follower of him now as well.
For sure. Thank you. Uh, Let us know more about Leadery Global, how you chose the name, what inspired you to launch this venture, and how you are growing it with time.
So the name Leadery came from a group of teacher leaders that I was working with, and one day in a session we were doing, they said, leader, we kind of make the term leader mean that it's always some great person, and that's not really true, because there's bad leaders and they're good leaders, right? And so leaders just kind of a term that describes sometimes things that are good, sometimes that are bad. And they said there needs to be a term kind of like a person that has courage, they have bravery, right? And so there's that adjective of bravery, or a brave person. And so they're like, well, why don't we have leadery, right, as an adjective, that's that person who's doing a great job serving others, doing what others needs. And so I was excited about that, because when you type that into a Word document, it has the little dashed red line, meaning it's not really a word. And I kind of like to use words that aren't words at times, so that's always fun. And so that's where that came from. Was how do we, if we're going to be teaching leadership, let's do it in a way where we've got people out there doing the right things, that are serving others. And then of course global is global, right? I want to be able to do that globally, and work with people from everywhere across the globe. So that's where leadery came from. It's a made up adjective.
It's very amusing. You coined a new term while forming a company. So, what services are provided by Leadery Global? What is its major mission?
So major mission for me is, how do we bring the great leadership traits to everyone, right? How do we help everyone serve, and how do we help everyone grow? To me, that's at the end of the day, when it's all over for Byron and I'm not around anymore, I want people to be able to say, gosh, he helped me grow, he helped me go from point A to point B. And as I said, I think when forming that and where I am now, I've come to that point in life where it doesn't have to be about me. It's not about success for me. It's about how do I help others be successful, and it's really going from success to significance, right? I want to try to be, how can I, through being able to work with lots of schools, with lots of organizations, and helping with their leadership development, how do I help those people be successful and begin to be significant as well? So that's really that's what drives me every day to do what I do.
This is truly inspiring. Do you work only with teachers, or you work at organizational levels with educational institutions as well?
So yes, we're so both of those things. So work with work with teachers. I work with administrators in schools, so school leadership. I work with schools as the organization. So I have schools right now that we're helping them do their strategic plans with. And then I do work with higher education as well. Super excited. Two clients of note would be I have Harvard as a client. I do work with their National Center for Rural Education Research, and then also work locally here in Indiana with Marian University with some projects that they have as well. So though it's exciting to have that diversity of a portfolio to work with.
This is impressive and very, very interesting. Where do you see yourself in next 5 years? Hello, I think there is some network issue. Yes, hi, Dr. Byron, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. So my question is, where do you see yourself in next 5 years with Leadery Global?
Ooh, so that's exciting because I always say that I'm on the path that's not really made, so it kind of happens as it goes. I hope to I hope in the next 5 years to be able to expand further globally, and work in lots of different countries and that. So that's one place that I want to work and spend time in. That's why we've made this connection, right? I think that's one of the things that I really want to do. So expand that, and then I think just continue to learn about some of the things that we've just talked about, right? AI is a space that I want to be able to help people in. So I'm really working hard at learning more myself to do that. So I think this full circles us back to the beginning of the conversation, right? It's we can't get complacent as leaders as well. We have to keep learning so that we can keep expanding that. So I think 5 years for me would be how do I expand even further globally to expand that reach of what I hope that I have to offer for everyone. And then I think the other is just to continue to learn, because as you and I both know, the world's going to change a bunch in the next 5 years, right? So how do we stay current on that to be able to do that? And I think part of that is, and you and I again talked about this a little bit before we started the conversation, even of how do I include some of our younger generation coming out into that, and how do I even in the next 5 years find some of the newer talent that's out there to be able to help with this even further, because I think that might be more of even a reverse mentoring for me, right? Because I think there's those out there that are just coming into the industry that there's some things they know that I don't know that I can learn from. So I think that's another piece of this next 5 years. What's that look like to include some of them in the work that I do as well?
Very interesting. And of course, a great teacher also has to be a great and more willing learner. That's what you are on both sides. What is your one message to the audience today?
Ooh, my one message to the audience. So I think for me, since we've been talking about education, so I think the one thing that I would really like for everyone to take away is that every path matters. And I say that a lot. And let me say that again. Every path matters. And so it doesn't matter if you're in your seventh decade like me, or whether you're just coming out of school, or whether you're just starting school as a youngster. Every path matters. And I think we have to really look at from an individual standpoint, what's my path? You just asked me, right? What's the path in the next 5 years? So we need to think about that, and what that path means to me is important and matters, right? It's not the same path as anyone else, not going to be the same path as yours. Your path matters too. You talked about your son earlier. His path matters, and you have helped develop that path with the things that he is interested in. And so I think that that from an education standpoint, our teachers, our schools really need to take that seriously, and we need to individualize down to the point where every student's path matters. And then I think as leaders of organizations, we also need to, those people that we serve, those people that work in our organizations, their paths matter, and we need to take the opportunity to recognize those paths and help them too. So I think that one message is that every path matters. And if we're truly showing love for everyone that we deal with, we need to take stock of what that path is and help them along that path.
Thank you so much. This is truly inspiring. Yes, everybody's individual journey is of significance. However small or grown up that person is, we all matter. We are all equally important and should have the attention for that. Thank you so much for today, Dr. Byron. It was truly insightful to have this conversation with you. We are looking forward to meet you in October again and welcome you to Istanbul with us.
I will be there. Thank you very much for having me on. This is incredible.
Thank you. Have a good day. Take care. You guys too have a great rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. We look forward to receive any of your questions. And if you wish to connect with Dr. Byron, not a problem. He's very active on LinkedIn and he is very willing to connect with all of us. Thank you so much. Have a great day and bye for now.